Good day, gentlemen. Dirk here with the MGTOW solution. Before I jump into today's topic, let me make an observation. I just passed a bad car wreck on the highway. Guess who was out in the freezing cold dealing with it? You are correct, sir. There were a dozen or so first responders on the scene, and they were all men. I'm pretty sure that emergency services jobs have been open to women for decades now, so where were they? Just saying. I want to talk a little about red pill awareness. More specifically, red pill awareness among men outside of the MGTOW community. I think we're getting to the point where regular people are becoming aware of what we're talking about, and I think that's a good thing because it may help men to discover that they actually don't have to do everything society demands of them, that there's another option. But most people are probably still unaware of our perspective, and when they first get exposed to something like MGTOW, their reaction is probably influenced by how the information is presented. If a feminist tells another woman about MGTOW, the outcome is as predictable as the outcome of divorce court. But if an actual MGTOW who understands the philosophy presents it to a reasonable man outside of our community, the outcome will be quite different. I recently introduced a man I know very well to the concepts of MGTOW. He actually read my book and viewed a few video links I sent him. He and I don't agree on everything, but he understands my point of view because he's a reasonable man. So, a couple of weeks after being exposed to red pill ideas, he told me that he had observed something he hadn't noticed before. His wife likes those shows where a couple is out shopping for houses, and what he noticed was that the women all came across as overly choosy, demanding, and generally entitled to the absolute perfect house. And it was obvious that the decision about which house to buy was mostly up to her. He stated that they act like little princesses, while the men usually went along with the plan to go over budget, despite being obviously concerned about doing so. No surprise there, but this is significant because it's something he failed to see for years. Since then, he's also observed that a woman he knows who insisted on performing a physically demanding job, mostly out of principle to prove she could do it as well as a man, ended up with serious back problems as a result. The woman is now on disability and so ultimately failed to prove she could do a man's job. He hadn't considered this prior to gaining a little red pill perspective. And he seemed to appreciate gaining that perspective. This is a highly intelligent man, a retired aeronautical engineer actually, and so has that inquisitive nature most men have. It's not that he wasn't smart enough to see reality, it's just that he had simply never been presented with a point of view from outside the mainstream. And because men generally enjoy learning and have the ability to think critically while remaining objective, they can adjust their perspective upon receiving new information. Okay, obviously not all of them, but a lot of them. This man isn't going to leave his wife of 35 years and go MGTOW, but his awareness has been raised. Maybe that doesn't matter, given that he's in the elderly category, but at some point, some younger man may turn to him for advice, and he's now in a better position to give it. Personally, I don't advertise the fact that I'm MGTOW, but most people I know are well aware that I'm happily single and intend to stay that way. If they try to set me up with a woman, I immediately shut them down. If they're familiar with the red pill, they could probably figure it out. And if they ask me, I tell them. When I get questions from married men, I give them honest answers, and they usually become kind of reflective, as if considering some newly discovered truth, which they have because MGTOW is truth. Here's an example. A young man I know has a son in grade school, and the school is trying to convince him that his son needs to be on Ritalin, a common scenario I discussed in the book. So I explained that classrooms and curriculum are designed for girls, while boys are expected to adapt, and that this is the cause of many problems for boys. This appeared to be a major revelation for him, even though this is common knowledge among MGTOW. I simply pointed out an example of gynocentrism and he could see it clearly, especially because he also has a daughter in school who isn't having any problems adjusting to that feminocentric environment. Given this new info, he understands that there's nothing wrong with his son, something that was clearly troubling him. He appeared quite relieved to hear this. So, this young man benefited from MGTOW without even being aware of MGTOW. Even his son may have benefited if he isn't forced to be medicated just for being a boy. That's a very different experience than having feminist dogma shoved down your throat, and most men are smart enough to appreciate the difference. Calm, rational men are more likely to be taken seriously by other men than raging psychos bitching about whatever is trendy to bitch about in feminist circles. Men are all too familiar with the feminist agenda, and a lot of them have had just about enough of it, so they're receptive to more sensible ideas. MGTOW ideas, for instance. And they don't have to go MGTOW to benefit from the knowledge coming out of the red pill community. Just understanding some of the issues can benefit men, even if it only means they can better spot attempts at manipulation or avoid false harassment charges. Plus, they can keep that red pill in their back pocket, knowing that if things go bad, they have a way out. Down the road, if they find themselves getting divorce raped, they'll probably think, hey, maybe I should take a closer look at that MGTOW thing. And then maybe we end up with one more man freed of his shackles. I'm betting there are a lot of non-MGTOW men picking up a thing or two from our community. People take bits and pieces from different philosophies all the time. For example, we might benefit from a Buddhist idea without becoming Buddhist. A basic precept in Buddhist philosophy is that all suffering is the result of unfulfilled desires. And so the key isn't to fulfill the desire, but to eliminate it. It's not much of a stretch to see how this could be applied to men desiring women. Similarly, a man in the blue pill world might learn from us why getting married is such a bad idea, and so avoid it. These guys are common enough that they're known as being purple-pilled. And you could think of them as being kind of half-assed MGTOW, but I still think that's better than being a dyed-in-the-wool blue pill simp. And chances are they'll end up MGTOW anyway, given the current state of things. The red pill community is one of the few places men can turn for factual, unbiased, truthful information about women and life in general. The fact that we're constantly being marginalized just reflects how rare the truth actually is. When people want to learn something, they typically turn to experts. And I would suggest that MGTOW are the subject matter experts when it comes to female nature. It's not psychologists, it's not relationship coaches, and it sure as hell isn't women, who should recuse themselves from even speaking on the topic since they can't be objective, can't grasp reality, and can't look at themselves honestly. MGTOW generally understand women better than they understand themselves. So keep spreading your knowledge, gentlemen. Hit that subscribe button on your way out if you like my work, and don't forget to thumbs up all MGTOW videos to help get the word out. Thanks again for listening, and have a great day.